Vicky Evans.
And I'm Tiegan Bins.
And welcome to the Book Tunes podcast. Hello, welcome to this month's Book Tunes podcast. Well, we'll be talking about opening acts, ones that have gone on to do well and ones that we have come to really, really like, and then Slam Dunk, which will be led by Tiegan.
Yos.
It's a lot more chilled, this one, than last month's.
Yeah.
We've just woken up and it's been a long day already. So yeah, we don't have a Cathy show this month, but next month we'll have an extended Cathy show, which is good because I don't think we've got any shows next month.
No, I've got some this month. I've got 2 this month.
For June?
Yeah.
Okay, well we can talk about them.
Yeah.
I've got like a maybe for doing press for one, but not confirmed.
Yeah.
But yeah, we won't have as much to talk about for June anyway, so an extended Cathy show it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, first topic of conversation, opening acts.
Woo.
So, you went to see Stone?
Yes. I've made a little bit of a list and I feel like I'm missing quite a few. And I feel like Stone is the one that sort of jumps out at me because we're still big fans of them. We've been to see them a couple of times and they're just so good. I mean, they've just released that they're playing Glastonbury actually this year.
Ooh.
So to say we didn't actually know who they were until we saw them at Youngblood being a support act, that's really big. It's a really big jump in, and I don't want to say that it is Youngblood and Youngblood's fans and they're, you know, the show that he did that sort of bumped them up, because they are very, very talented. But in such a short space of time, they've made such a big following, and it's really quite amazing to see, especially if you're in sort of like the early days of discovering who they are and seeing how far they've come.
Yeah.
It's quite strange, in a good way. Not like, oh, that's weird, why are they so big? But they're such a talented and amazing band that they should be getting this, and this is how it should work.
What genre are they?
I don't know. They're very Britpop for me.
Ooh, Britpop.
Yeah, they're from Liverpool. They're from Liverpool. Let me just quickly Google what genre they are. Should know this.
Oh, I hope Britpop's coming back. I like Britpop.
Same. Stone is not a Finnish thrash metal band. That's not that's not the right band. Stone. The very, I don't know, the new album / EP is called Punkadonk, but I wouldn't really say that they're very punk.
Punkadonk.
Indie group inspired by like Joy Division, Streets.
Joy Division are they Britpop? It's kind of like
I feel like they are more indie, but
yeah,
they feel still very Britpop.
Yeah, it's like emo Britpop.
Yeah, like it's just coming up as rock. Which is great because that's such an umbrella term. But no, I personally would say they are more Britpop. Because they're not heavy. They're not heavy. And they have got quite sort of like more upbeaty songs, especially some of the new ones. But some of them are very like political. They're very working class.
Alright.
But they're just so good. I mean, when we went to go see...
What songs would you recommend? Sorry, you carry on.
Oh.
You carry on.
When we went to go see them at Wardrobe in Leeds, we got there a little bit earlier, and the entire band were just there having a pint in the pub side of the Wardrobe. And I mean, you wouldn't really get
Wardrobe's
that usually, but obviously with them being a smaller band, but it seemed like most of the fans that were going to see them like knew them and they recognised them. So even though they are getting really, really big, the following is still small enough that they do recognise fans.
Yeah.
Which again is really, really nice.
It is. What I had asked was, what songs do you recommend?
I really like Fuse. Fuse is a really good song. Let's Dance to the Real Thing's really, really good. That one's sort of about how music isn't how it used to be anymore, but it's a banger. I've got some new ones as well. See, I say I'm a really big fan, but I'm having to Spotify all the song names.
I mean, you're a new fan of them, so...
Short-term memory.
definitely
Leave
have
It
to
Out's
check
really
these out.
good. Left, Right, Forward is very Blur, very Park Life, and I think it's one of the newest songs, and I'm not a massive fan of it, but it still slaps.
Yeah.
It's still good.
That's good. Well, my first one, I'm going to say New Rules. I saw them opening for Little Mix, and then they are creeping up. They're big on TikTok, which is... I mean, I have a bit of a conspiracy theory that they were, like, made to be famous because the three good-looking lads, you've got one blonde, one Irish, one that's got, like, 7 rescue dogs.
Of course.
You know, it is just made for the female gaze.
Yep.
You know, and they all do songs like, oh, you're so beautiful, la 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 la. But I had to say these first because when you said about them being in pub at Wardrobe, I saw New Rules at Wardrobe. And at the pub bit, they came in while I was ordering a mocha. And then Ryan, the Irish one, held the door open for me. It is a good
We love that. We love good interactions with fans because I feel like people, especially with bigger bands, forget that they're still human. They're still people. Like, of course they're going to do stuff like that.
They usually come out and talk to fans, but they didn't on that tour because it was, like, fresh out of COVID.
Yeah.
But I haven't really kept up with them. A lot of the songs seem to have the same vibe, so I've been like, nah.
Yeah.
And they left me on red when I asked them to interview them, so...
Shame.
No. Shame. Would you like to do another?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have got a bit of a list. I weren't going to go into great detail about all of them, but because I feel like a lot of them either dropped off and didn't do well. I'm talking like a VK era going back to last episode. People like Bad Pollyanna, Ashes, Dead Lay Waiting. They were all really good support bands that we also branched out and followed individually after FVK. But I feel like they sort of dropped off and don't really do much anymore.
No.
But then there's I like to call them the 1975 support bands because they were bands that were picked up by Matty Healy's. I don't know if he's got his own record label or if he like introduces bands to the record label he's on or what, but I know he picks up quite a few small bands. Pale Waves is one. We've seen them a couple of times. First time was obviously at 1975. And they're quite big now. Biba Doob is another one. We hear her quite a lot on radio. They both started off as really small bands that 1975 had picked up and brought on the tours with them, and they're really, really good. A recent one that tied into Slam Dunk is Trash Boat. I wouldn't say we're mega fans. We do like them and we do listen to them, but we first saw them as support for Enter Shikari, and then
when I came with you.
When you came with.
Yeah, that rang
he
a
was
bell.
the guy in the assault vest.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then they were playing main stage at Slam Dunk, so
good
it's that contrast again between being a smaller band that's supporting a bigger band and then having such a following, gaining that you play main stage. I mean, to be fair, I feel like Trash Boat were big anyway, despite being a support band for Enter Shikari, because I know my friend Logan follows them and he's liked them for a while.
Yeah.
But I feel like support bands are just so underrated. A lot of people think, I don't know if it's especially with COVID, and I feel like it's always been that people will skip support bands.
Yeah. Although, speaking of Enter Shikari support, when we went to see them, Nova Twins are doing really well this year.
Oh, yes, that was another one. They're playing Glastonbury as well.
Yeah. They were up for all awards in Brits as well. Like, they're everywhere you look.
Yeah, they are really good. I think as well because it's so rare to see support bands do well, even though the sort of it's an a rise.
Yeah.
It's a big thing that's happening at the minute that I've found. Especially people of colour and especially female led bands don't get that audience. They don't get the fame, whereas Nova Twins are doing exceptionally well, and I'm so happy for them because they're paving the way for more female-led bands and people of colour to go and pursue music and do well, because that is the only thing that really drew me back from going and pursuing music more in university especially, is the fact that there's no way that I were going to get into the industry. There's no way. Absolutely no way. Because it's so rare that it happens.
I mean, we get told that with journalism as well.
Yeah.
That, like, we've been through this a million times, us too. That unless you're a white middle-class man, there's very little chance you'll get paid for it.
Yeah. Or unless your parents are already famous.
Yeah.
It's so difficult. I mean, I feel like it's slightly easier now with stuff like TikTok. If you create a catchy tune that people see because of the algorithm, you're likely to blow up.
All the female artists I know at the minute I've found through TikTok.
Yeah, and I feel like it's a catch-22 with TikTok because people hate on it and I hate on it, but I'm also inherently addicted to it because...
But it's a useful tool.
It is. It's a really good platform, especially for musicians, because it's people consume it a lot. It's one of the most consumed media now.
It just falls into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's about it. I feel like,
okay.
Yeah, to wrap it up, support bands are really, really underappreciated and people need to give them more love.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple more we can talk about. Obviously, the Nightmares.
Yes.
I've gotten really into them and they opened for FBK. They've just released their debut album, and if you've not heard it, it's called Seance. Go listen to it because it is the perfect debut album. Speaking of TikTok, Chinchilla, she's big on TikTok right now with her Little Girl Gone. I found her opening for McFly.
Oh.
Yeah, she opened for McFly in 2021. I think, like, my first after-COVID concert. And I thought she was okay. But I didn't really give it time of day, but I should have, because I do really like Little Girl Gone. And another McFly opener I saw was the Vamps.
Yeah, they got quite big.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard a lot about them recently, but...
Well, I thought they'd called it quits, but apparently not, because I've been seeing Bradley Simpson all over TikTok lately. Because I know... I think with James, wasn't it, that went on I'm a Celebrity? He, like, got engaged in that, so I think they're all, like, settling down, which is weird because they're, like, 2 years older than us.
Yeah, it's really strange. It makes us feel old even though we're literally in the prime of our lives.
I mean, we say that as if we're not engaged and settling down and that.
True. True. That's very true.
I'm just a 23-year-old teenager.
That is the truest thing I have ever heard.
But yeah, it was their first tour, I think, when McFly took them out. I think 10 years ago.
Oof.
And obviously I was like, oh my god, cute boys, guitars, love it. Yeah, Connor Ball was my favourite. Still is. Pretty boy, bass guitar, bearded dragon. It's just a little guy. Yeah, they did extremely well. I think they got bigger than McFly, but then it might just be the same level as McFly, but a different generation. Yeah, because I was 5 when McFly were in their prime. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I've got.
Yeah, there probably is so many more that we've seen that we've missed.
Probably,
but I just, it's support bands. Give them love, please.
They're not just there to hype you up, They're there to be your next favourite band.
Exactly. At the end of the day, they're musicians as well, and even though it's, especially if you're supporting a really big band, it's it's really good for them. They've got a lot of pressure to actually perform so well that people like them. So it's not just that they're just hyping up. They have that added pressure.
Were any of your bands in a support role?
I'm not sure.
See, my band, our first gig was third on at a festival, and that was really daunting. And there was Ashes and Bad Pollyanna and
the Warehouse
Chasing
23
Dragons.
One.
Yeah. And it is really daunting being the opening act.
Yeah.
Especially if you're young.
Yeah. I think we, in our short-lived band, did a few, but we were all headlining.
Right.
I do remember there was another band in the same college. They were the year older than us, and they supported us on because we had to put on a show for one of those modules, but ours was the best, not sold, but for numbers, we had more people come to ours than the others. And I was told by one of the music teachers, not our music teacher, but the other one, that the support band should have been the headliner and we shouldn't have headlined. So I'm still salty about that.
That is so rude.
Yeah.
Jesus. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I just cry about it every night.
So we suggest again, us two form a band. Show them who's boss. Blue Pits, come on, you and me. No?
No.
Someday I'll get you to say yes. Someday. Anyway, Slammy D.
Slammy D. Oof. The T.
The D.
I will say, to the people that have asked me how it was, when people are I saw you were at a festival, how did you find it? Overall, when we're just talking about seeing the bands, it was amazing. The bands that we saw, every single one of them put on an amazing show. Seen Queen, oh my god.
So
I can't. I am so hyped to try and get tickets for it tomorrow. To say that the stage was tiny, we got there 45 minutes before she started, and we were right at the front. It was insane. To say she's such a small band, an artist, it is a band, but if we're talking about Hannah, I think she's called her directly, to say that she's only recently blown up, the stage presence she has, the shows that she puts on, with the little amount of resources. She was the Key Club stage, there was two. There was one on the right, one on the left. And she was the one on the left. And there weren't massive stages, but the show that she put on was insane. It was so good. Bearing in mind she did get concussed the night before in Hatfield.
I had seen that, yeah.
Yeah, because again, security, shit. But no, the bands were amazing. We saw quite a few. We saw Trash Boat, Bowling for Soup were really good. I've seen them before. They're old, We said the same thing about Green Day. You can tell they're knocking on a little bit, but they still put on a really good show.
Yeah.
Escape the Fate were really good. I was really upset because I used to be obsessed with one of their songs called The Flood, and they did not play that.
Ah.
They didn't play that. They only played
Did
one
they do
song that I knew, and that is
Situations?
my fault for not following them more, but I'm still upset about it. I think we saw the end of Fit for a King. They're quite heavy. They were really good. Who else did we see? We ended up seeing Lolo's set whilst waiting for seeing Queen, and we weren't bothered about seeing her, but she was actually really, really good. She's more like, not in a bad way, but like Machine Gun Kelly, girly pop punk, you know, that sort of era.
Yeah.
But she was really good. Someone actually threw something at her and said that she was shit, and she clapped back at them so great. She was like, "You look like you have never had your dick sucked. I love sucking dick, and I would not suck yours." Like, it was so funny and so quick, but she dealt with it so well, and like, to me, that would have ruined my set, and she didn't let it.
Yeah.
She owned it, and she did really well. We were going to see The Offspring because we were like, we sort of like them, and it's probably the only chance we're going to get to see them. But then we were like, nah, we've got to go Shikari. And I'm so glad we did. I mean, we've seen them a good few times, and I'm not a massive fan of the new album. Now that I've re-listened to it, I'm like hearing songs that I feel like I didn't hear. I'm like, are they releasing new songs into the album that I didn't hear before? They have got some really good songs on it, I will say, as much as I think I spoke to you and Emily about it, that it just sounded like one big song, and the filler songs in between felt odd. But now that I've sort of re-listened to it a couple of times, they have got some really good songs on it. And they're just one of those bands where it doesn't matter how many times you see them, it never gets old. Like, they do this thing at festivals called the Quick Fire. So in 7 minutes, they do as many songs as they can. And they actually did like a revamped version of Sorry You're Not a Winner and made it more like the new songs, you know, very heavy on synths. It was insane. Like, they had like a bit of a laser show. It literally felt like I was at a rave, but in a good way. Like, I like the synths. They're very... It's weird. I've spoken about this with Harry before, that I used to like Deadmau5 and Skrillex.
Yeah,
and
I remember that. That was not a good time in your life.
You've never listened to them?
No, I remember you being into them.
Yeah.
And that was not a good time in your life.
No, it was not. But sort of like the heavier synths, not like drum and bass, not that sort of stuff, the heavier stuff. They are very much like that. I mean, they got Wargasm on stage, which we knew they were going to do because Wargasm were playing there anyway. They got Cody on stage because they'd done a song with them, The Bull. They'd done with them, and it was just insane. I mean, we got there like nearly an hour before their set started, so we were really close to the front. And re-looking at the pictures that people have taken, the size of the crowd was massive. It's so strange to think about that every time we've been to see them, we've been right at the front. And I feel like when you're at the front, you don't realise the magnitude of the people there.
Yeah.
But again, it was such a good show. And on a sad note, we checked Twitter last night, and the lead singer Ro, he had his cat put to sleep.
Yeah.
On Saturday before Slam Dunk even started, and
bless him.
To have your best friend put to sleep and it weren't even just because she was getting old. She got really, really sick really, really quickly.
Yeah. Cancer, wasn't it?
Yeah, it were her kidneys. So for something as traumatic as that to happen, and then to go on and play 2 big sets at a festival that sold out and still put on such a good show, hats off to him. Because honestly, I mean, I know he said that he's doing what he loves and he wouldn't have had it any other way, and he, you know, it was a good distraction for him. I'm amazed by it. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Show must go on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously the money involved in it and stuff, but it was an amazing set to say that he'd been through something like that, and hats off to him and all the love to him. Anyway, enough about the good stuff.
The good stuff, yeah.
The planning was abysmal. Like, we've only ever been to one other big festival, really, and that was Leeds Fest, and that was stressful to get into, despite the fact that we actually went the Thursday night at like 10 o'clock at night, so we'd missed all the queues, we'd missed all the bag checks and everything. They literally just checked us tickets and let us in. We missed all the stressful stuff, and it was still stressful to find the entrance of it.
Yeah.
Slam Dunk blew that out of the water. So I understand that they had issues at Hatfield because people were going into the car parks without having the prepaid tickets, which meant that the car parks were so full that there were people that had paid for the tickets that couldn't get in. Personally, why allow prepaid parking tickets if you're not going to check them?
Yeah.
I don't get that. That's just an easy way to get money out of people. So I'd actually paid for parking when Harry had told me he got the tickets, which was quite a few months ago. And it weren't much. It was £6.60 for the tickets. It's not much. It's not the end of the world. However, the communication between the marshals, none. Zero. There was none. So we were on the motorway and we'd seen a marshal. It was sort of a dual carriageway, not a motorway. And he'd said, right, okay, the parking's this way. So we went to, we'd never been to not Hyde Park, Temple Newsom before. So I was a little bit nervous. I'm a nervous driver anyway. So we followed the signs. We went to where we were supposed to go. And there was a really nice lady, and she said they've actually changed the parking address now. So she gave us a postcode. We followed the postcode and got to where the postcode was telling us to go. And one of the marshals said, nope, you're in a wrong place. You need to go that way. Follow this car. So
Jesus.
He'd not even told us his address. He'd just said, follow that car in front of you. So I had to quickly turn round and, like, speed to catch up to this car because I didn't actually know where I was going.
Jesus.
And then we were stopped, and at the end of the road there were some more marshals, and one of the guys said, this marshal's told you wrong. The parking is that way. That's for the prepaid parking. You need to go back and speak to him. And he did actually swear a lot and said, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing. We've been told that the parking's that way, so why is he telling you to go this way? The parking isn't that way, it's where you came from. So we went back, and the same marshal was on the phone. There was actually another Mini in front of us. I'm a Mini driver. I love my Mini. Bad drive Minis. There we go. So there was another Mini in front of us, and the passenger, the girl in the passenger were really, really nice, and she came up to us because she'd spoken to the marshal and said that he was on the phone to his manager, and the manager was saying that we did have to go to the other parking bit.
Jesus.
So we were like, right, okay, whatever. So we went round to the end of the street, and then it was like a roundabout, and you had to go back onto the dual carriageway, and it was gridlock. The traffic was horrible. Bearing in mind, we had set off at 9:30 to get there for 10 o'clock, because it's not really a big drive for us. It's literally, it was supposedly 28 minutes. And we were gridlocked for at least half an hour, and we were supposed to be meeting up with Emily, and by this time it was like 11:15, and one of the first bands we wanted to see, we were like, we're not too bothered, it doesn't matter, as long as we can see Scene Queen, that's all that matters. So yeah, it got to about 11 o'clock, and the Mini in front of us were like, we're just going to park in services, because the traffic, again, 45 minutes, it had not moved. Like, not even a little bit. I was handbraked for 45 minutes.
Jesus.
And it just weren't moving. So we actually followed them, and we parked in services as well, which is fine. You know, I weren't willing to wait another 2 hours and miss bands that I'd paid to go and see for the sake of parking, for the sake of £6.60. I did end up having to pay an additional £30 to park in services, because we had to pay for 15 hours of parking because we were going to be there all day, which is fair. That's, you know, I was willing to pay that for the sake of that. But to me, why was there no communication between the marshals? And the marshal that was actually really rude to us twice said that it was our fault because there were signposts to where we were supposed to park. There weren't. there were no signs anywhere. All it said was concert traffic, and we followed the signs and the sat-nav to where it said concert traffic, and that's where the lady collared us and said, actually, we've moved the car parking and it's at the other end.
Christ.
So the signs were wrong anyway. And that was just a tip of the iceberg. Obviously, I was stressed then. I was like, I just really want to go home. And then I realised it was actually a half an hour walk from the services.
Oh, God.
Which, you know, I've had hip surgery. I am better now, but that doesn't mean that I can still walk for long periods of time. I am still in recovery.
Especially when you're walking around all day as well.
Exactly. It was a lot for me, and I was very, very stressed. And I'd said to Harry, honestly, at this point, I want to turn around and go home. If it weren't for the fact that the tickets were quite expensive, I probably would have.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I stayed because the experience was really good in terms of seeing the bands, but it was a big piss take in that front. So that was the first problem. We ended up not going to the main entrance. We went because we had to walk down like where the car parking actually was. We had to walk like a big windy road and whatever. So we ended up getting in fairly quickly. We didn't end up actually meeting Emily until like quite late in the afternoon because the service was horrible, which isn't anyone's fault. I'm not saying it's Slam Dunk's fault. It's, you know, it's a big festival in a massive field in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to have service. It was poorly planned on my part to meet up with her because we'd not actually planned where we were meeting. Thankfully, she did actually meet up with some other friends, so she were safe, because I was worried quite a lot of the time. I was like, I hope she's safe, because she's a woman and she's alone at a big festival with you know, people that are already drunk at 11 o'clock in the morning. You know, it's scary, but she had a good time, and that's all that matters.
Yeah. I mean, I have found a tweet from her. It's a quote tweet from one saying Slam Dunk, or as I like to call it, Convention for Men, who sent me unsolicited pics.
Yes, I saw that. I feel like she said that she had a bad experience during We Came as Romans, which is one of the bands that she actually really, really wanted to go and see, which is a shame because
3 men got creepy and touchy.
Yeah, exactly. Why do that? We're all here to see a band. Do you know what I mean? There's no reason for you to do that, and it puts people off going places.
It does.
But she said overall she had a good time, so I'm glad despite everything.
And she did find people, so, you know.
Yeah.
Worse couldn't happen, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get onto queues. So toilet facilities, there were quite a lot, but there was all in the same place. So there was one big toilet area and then another big toilet area near the two main stages, because you've got the Dickie stage and the Amazon stage. And honestly, I feel like there weren't enough toilets because it was a sold out venue, and when we were wading through crowds and actually looking at the toilet area, we were like, how is that enough?
Yeah.
There were quite a good amount of Portaloos, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it really wasn't planned to capacity. It was planned to how much tickets they usually sell, because I feel like they don't usually sell out at Slammy, but this year it was, and I feel like they didn't plan to capacity, they planned to normality, which has ultimately been the entire problem, because the food venues, there weren't a lot, really. I mean, there were vegan stuff, but I'd seen on Twitter that like 3 of the vegan places had run out of the vegan options within a couple of hours.
No.
Yeah. We were queuing. We decided to get food about 2-3 o'clock because there was a big gap in sets. I mean, we were like, we could go see this band, but we're not too bothered, and if we don't eat now, we're not going to eat later.
Yeah.
Again, 45 minutes to an hour we were in that queue. So, I mean, it's a really, really good job that we weren't starving or diabetic or had any other sort of physical illness that needed food immediately or soon, because it was ridiculous. It really, really was. And the queues were like that for the entire day for every single food venue.
Yeah.
It was insane. And
got a tweet saying someone paid £20 for a tray of 6 chicken strips and chips.
yeah.
Someone had paid, I don't know if I've screenshot it, but I saw someone had paid a lot for a pizza that only had like half of it cheesed. You know, the other half was just bread and... Oh, it's here. Queued an hour for pizza at Slam Dunk, only to get half bread and tomato sauce.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we did get pizza and we'd not really got any quarrels about it because food is food and we're not really fussy, but
Yeah.
we did see a lot of food that was bad. I mean, earlier in the day we did get a tray of chips to share, but it was literally like when bands were first starting and people were still coming in and getting the wristbands. £8 for a tiny tray of curly fries was horrendous to me. I mean, we paid it because obviously festivals have got to bump up the prices because they outsource their food venues. But I was a little bit cringing at the fact that it was £8 for such a small tray. They ran out of merch as well. We wanted some Slam Dunk merch. They'd run out of that completely. How do you run out of merch for your own festival?
Yeah.
I feel like if it was right at the end, then that's fair enough. But we're talking like 3-4 o'clock.
Yeah.
You got another good few hours left, and they'd run out. It just, even the bars, like, not just the food, obviously the food places were selling drinks, but the bars, the queue for the bars were also just as long. What would have happened, because you're not allowed to take your own food and drink in, what happens if someone's severely dehydrated, because it weren't mega warm, but it was still warm, there was a lot of children in the venue, what happens if they were dehydrated and needed a drink quick? They have to wait an hour for that. You know, it's not ideal. And I just think I do agree with what everyone is saying. It was very, very poorly planned. It was oversold and underplanned. And the statement that they've released is poor. And I know I've sworn a lot in this episode, but it really was. It was horrendous. Like, how can a festival that's been running since, I think Bowling for Soup said they first played it in 1999, so it's been playing for,
24 years.
A good 20 plus years.
Yeah.
Not managed to plan suitably. It just doesn't sit right with me. Like, yes, I had a good time. Yes, we enjoyed the bands, but it wasn't a great experience, and honestly, it's put me off going again.
Well, I saw someone be like, "Oh, guys, remember, it is an independent festival," but someone had quote tweeted that and said, "Yes, but this is a problem that happens every year, and by now, there should be a solution."
Yeah. I mean, I'd seen tweets from people that have said they've literally been going for 10 plus years, and they've said that this year is the worst year that they've ever had. Like,
is this the first year without Slam Dunk Midlands, though?
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like it might be.
I've been seeing people wanting that back, and I feel like that would be a good shout, because what the overselling would have been from is people from the Midlands travelling.
Yeah, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I feel like it's just a big cash grab to make as much cash by doing as little planning as possible, because they do Slam Dunk Italy. There's one in Italy that's going off in a couple of weeks, a couple of months. How can they have enough money to produce an English festival overseas but not be able to plan it properly?
And as well, it's all well and good them saying like, "Oh, this is like industry standard of, whatever," but obviously that needs revising, because if that's what's allowed, that's still not safe.
No, it's not. And the thing is, the industry's changed. After COVID, everything has changed. And I feel like people have jumped on and gone, actually, we've had a slice of life where we've been isolated and we've not been able to go and enjoy things. And I'll say me especially, I've never been to Slam Dunk before because festivals terrify me. They really, really do. Not that I've ever had a bad experience of them, but just the sheer amount of people.
Yeah.
It does terrify me. And, you know, I weren't clued up on Slam Dunk before, but it has really, really put me off going again. It's insane that they think that this is okay. And I'm just trying to get the statement up now to reread it because
I've stopped being sad that I didn't get tickets.
Yeah.
I've got a tweet here that says, I'd say Slam Dunk North were genuinely lucky nothing happened yesterday that meant people need to evacuate, as there's no way the site wasn't overcrowded and it would have easily broken headlines.
Yeah.
No proper bag check, no body check.
Yeah, we didn't get patted down. I mean, I'm not inherently against weed per se, but when you're sat waiting for bands and there's 4 or 5 people surrounding you smoking it, when there's children around at a massive festival, you've got to think, what else can people bring in?
Yeah.
If you're not checking properly for a drug that smells very, very, you know what I mean? It's not as if you don't know what it is. You can smell it.
Yeah,
I mean, I took a pack of cigs with me and they literally flicked it open and the foil was still covering the cigarettes. I could have had anything in it. I could have put some rollers in there. Do you know what I mean? I could have had bags or anything in there. Harry did get patted down. I didn't get patted down. I just feel like, yes, I don't think anything bad happened, but with the current climate and how dangerous things are, how easy would it have been for someone to bring a bomb in or a knife or, do you know what I mean, and go and hurt someone? There were no metal detectors. Like, they didn't check my bag properly. She literally pulled my pack of cigarettes out, looked at it for a brief minute, a second even, and then put it back in. I could have had anything at the bottom of that bag.
I've got a couple of complaints about security. One being that they just were like, have you got anything illegal? And, you know, not actually checking. One, security being pervy towards a woman. Another one, just watching as a woman has to, like, protect someone else from being physically and verbally harassed by drunk men, and then smiled, like, expecting a thank you when, you know, they hadn't done anything.
It's insane, honestly. I just look at Scene Queen. She crowd surfed, and yes, crowd surfing is inherently dangerous, and it is. People may argue that it's not the security's job to do, you know, to help with crowd surfing, but when you've got an artist playing, and there weren't that many security guards at her barrier either, to be fair, I feel like I only saw 2 in the video. 2 small security guards isn't going to do anything against a massive crowd, really. If they really, really wanted to, 2 security guards aren't going to do anything. And they didn't catch her when she came back from crowd surfing, and she smacked her head. I've seen pictures of the bruising as well.
Yeah, I've seen the bruising, but I don't know what happened.
There is a video, I'll have to send it to you. So the sorter helped her across the barrier and then just let her go, and she fell flat on the floor. And I mean, the space between the stage and the dead space, but you know, the space between the stage and the barrier isn't very big.
Yeah. Would have been very easy to just swoop her over.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at some comments on Instagram because someone's made a very, very valid point. They've put, we weren't speculating that the events were oversold, we were telling you that they were oversold. It's very gaslighting, the statement. I did notice that
it's very much, no, you did not have a problem, no you didn't, everything was fine.
Like in the statement they were like, people have been complaining that we oversold. We weren't oversold. Yes, you were sold out. You were sold out and did not have enough venues, you know, food-wise, toilet-wise, to facilitate everybody. That is being oversold. The fact that, I mean, Less Than Jake were playing before Bowling for Soup, and we'd not got any bands between then. That's when we were queuing, and the crowd, I think I've got a picture of it, I'll have to send it you. It was literally from stage right back to where the barriers were to where you come into the arena. It was insane, the amount of squeezing through people you had to do to get to other stages.
Yeah.
Like, it was definitely oversold. It really, really was. And the fact that they're saying, we're sorry that people had problems, but, you know, we did all that we could. If you had a problem, take this survey. And they're saying
They have
that...
issued another apology since. They issued it on Tuesday, but I do think that was more just a damage control kind of thing than a genuine apology.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just damage control. They've made the money. I feel like it's very cold-hearted and insensitive because a lot of people, I mean, I don't know if it was at the Hatfield one or the Leeds one, someone said that they'd paid loads of money to see Scene Queen, and
It was at South.
I think it was.
They missed it, so no, actually it was Leeds because she quote tweeted it and said, I'll put you on the list for Leeds.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, she shouldn't have to do that. As a small artist, yes, that was a really kind gesture, and hats off to her for doing that. But she's then losing money on tickets, which she needs to then be able to grow as an artist. Why is she doing damage control for something that Slam Dunk caused?
Yeah.
It's not her responsibility at the end of the day. Like, it's a very kind thing that she did, and I would probably do the same if I was in that position. But why is Slam Dunk, like, I've not done the survey and I've not complained yet because I'm still stewing over it. The fact that I had to pay an extra £30 to be able to park to get to the venue is ridiculous. I shouldn't have had to pay extra money when I've already paid for parking that's totally inaccessible that I can't get to. And if I did wait in that queue, who knows, I might have just made it for Enter Shikari, you know?
Yeah. And what time were Enter Shikari on?
9 o'clock, I think.
Right.
So I feel like that was a gross over-exaggeration on my part, but that's genuinely how it felt.
I saw a tweet from someone saying that he only just made it to the set of the band he's working with because of the parking situation.
Yeah.
Imagine you're working there and you can't even get to your job.
Yeah. And then they would have been reprimanded for not being able to get there, even though it's the festival's fault. It's insane. It really is. It really does baffle me. Like I said, how can a festival run that has been running for so long not be able to understand how simple management works?
Yeah.
I mean, that fake festival that I went to in Doncaster last month was better put together than this. Yes, the scale of it was off. You know, this was a small festival in comparison, but they had everything, if not more, to facilitate every person that went. And to me, it's obviously, I've never planned a festival, so I don't know how hard it is, but realistically, unless you are literally getting children to plan and manage a festival, or people who have never done it before, how is it so hard that you think that was okay, that the show that they've put on?
Yeah.
It really does frustrate me, especially for someone that's been going to gigs for so long. Yes, the industry's changed. Yes, it's different now, but I just feel like...
If people are coming to you constantly saying there's a problem, then there's a problem.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It needs fixing. And if it was one person one time, that's different. But if it's a lot of people every year, you gotta think
something's clearly going wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel like even you look at Leeds and Reading and Download and, you know, Glastonbury, other big festivals. Yes, they are weekend festivals, people can argue. Yes, they capacitate for more. But surely there's some sort of festival planning template that people can follow. Like, I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't know if it's something that I'm missing, but the gaslighting from the management team to tell people that no, we weren't oversold. Yes, we had enough, you know, facilities to capacitate everyone. Well, clearly they didn't, because the vegan food ran out hours after they started.
Yeah.
Like, how is that enough to facilitate everyone? How is that saying that, yes, we planned ahead? But then they're saying in another breath, we were assured that we had enough food. That's putting the blame on someone else. If you're outsourcing different companies to come to your festival, that isn't their problem.
No.
If you're not hiring enough food venues to come to your festival, that is not the venue's problem. That is the management problem.
Yeah. And Matt made a good point that what a lot of things do, like venues and airplanes and everything, they always oversell 10%, thinking 10% of people aren't going to show up.
Yeah.
And, well, we guess this is what happened. They oversold it, thinking, you know, so many people aren't actually going to show up, and then they did.
Yeah. It's very frustrating, like I said, to people who have been going for ages, to people like me and Harry who have never been before. This is a point where people will stop going, and then that festival will die out, and its rep is now tainted.
It is.
I'm just looking at some more comments about a lot of people are asking for refunds for the parking that they paid for, and at the minute they're being told no.
Well, they should have refunds.
They really should. I mean, like I said, it is only £6.60, but that is not the point. It's really not the point. What if someone had scrimped and scraped to be able to save enough money to get there, to see bands that they love, to then be told, actually, the queue's too large for for parking, you're going to have to find somewhere else to park. For example, 30 minutes away, that you're going to have to pay an extra £30 to park in.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fair. It's really not.
It's not.
We were very lucky that, you know, we did have that really long queue for food, but we did still enjoy ourselves. It was a bad experience, but the bands were still enjoyable, and I feel like we were lucky enough that we'd not had a worse experience.
Yeah.
But the point is, it's not fair on people. It really isn't.
It's not. They've paid a lot of money for a good day, and that's not what they're getting.
Yeah.
They all deserve to be looked after, fed, watered, toilets. They need to feel safe, like they're not going to be harassed. And if you're running a festival, that is your responsibility. I know it's quite a hard thing to police, you know, other people's behaviour when you've got, 10,000, something like that. But if someone comes to you and says, this person's done something to me, you step up.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to be fair, I am actually seeing some comments saying, give them credit, like the price of things have gone up, and, like sort of defending them in a way. And I half get what they're saying, but then at the same time, people still had a crap day. People have paid a good amount of money to go for the festival, and not only see the bands, but pay the wages of the management team, of the people that put the festival on, and they've not enjoyed the day out. So, I mean, I did see what you'd said, that they've released another apology, but why did they have to release another apology? That
the first
statement
one should have been from the heart.
Exactly. The first statement was so gaslighting, that we're sorry you had a bad experience, but it's not our fault.
Well,
like, it's just not right. It really isn't. And I hope they learn from it. I really, really do, because they've been a festival for years, and with the survey that they're releasing, I hope that they do take the feedback on. I really do. And I hope that it isn't a way to sort of damage control, like, we're taking feedback, fill out this, we'll look at it, and then completely ignore it and do the same next year. I really hope that they do take the feedback on and create another, a greater environment next year, and take on board the negative things that people have been saying, because they have potential. They've been going on for years, and it would be a shame if this then taints them and it gets to a point where they can't put it on anymore. But
at the end of the day, that's on them.
Yeah,
because if they'd have responded well, more people would be willing to go again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I am put off it. If they do improve, if they do put in new measures for next year, I would be tempted to go. But at this minute, with the statements and stuff that they've released, I don't think I'll be going next year.
Yeah. Anyway, on that, who would you say the artist of the month is?
Ooh. That's a good question. I would say for me, probably Enter Shikari with the new album, with, you know, the slam dunk, they're doing a show in Leeds and two or three dates in Manchester in February.
Yeah.
For me, I love them as an artist, and it's not that we've rediscovered them or forgotten about them with having seen them at Slam Dunk. It's that we've sort of been reminded of why they are such a great band. You know, they seem like such nice guys. The music slaps. The stand up for the right things.
Yeah.
And I love them so much so that I have their lyrics tattooed on my body because, you know, everyone does that.
So who would win in a fight, FPK or Enter Shikari?
Ooh. I feel like Enter Shikari.
Yeah. I don't think Drew would want to punch Rue.
Yeah, I just feel like even though they're sort of similar in nature, they're all very, you know, sort of like laid back, nice guys from what we know and perceive them to be from seeing them on stage and social media and such. Some of the songs that Enter Shikari have and the rage that they portray in some of the songs makes me think that they'd be very, very scrappy.
Yeah. Probably.
If the hat to the wood.
Yeah. So shall we leave that for today?
Yes. I think that's a good...
So thank you for listening. Follow us on social media. Twitter and Instagram is BoopTunes. Keep a lookout this month because we might be getting a new icon.
Ooh.
And yeah, if you want to be a part of the Cathy Show, we are having an extended one next month. booptunes23@outlook.com. Just send us an email about a bit about you, how we can contact you other than your email address, and a bit about the music you like, and that would be really appreciated. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Tiegan.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you, and goodbye.